Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy. Happy Dussehra, everyone. Although it's a holiday, but we are here for you, uninterrupted and uninterruptible. The Hindu newspaper did not hit the stands today because of the holiday. That's why I have picked newspaper articles from the Hindustan Times and the Indian Express, strictly relevant for your examination. Let's get started and let's look at topic number one. High Court protects personality rights of Telugu actor Nagarjun. What are these personality rights? Let's look at this slide. And I'm telling you that for the next 3 days, Unacademy platform is open for all. You can access our live classes, our recordings, our notes, whatever. But instead of these features on your screen, I paste the image of Mr. Nagarjun. What will you believe? That it is Mr. Nagarjun who has endorsed an Academy UPSC program, and maybe you will be more likely to opt for this program. This would be violation of Nagarjun's personality rights because without his consent, I am pasting his photograph on this image to give a misleading sense that he has endorsed this product. And he is commercially a loser in this case. Why? Because if his photograph would have been on this slide, we would have to pay him money as endorsement fee because he is endorsing our product. If without his consent, I am pasting his image on the screen, that would be violation of his personality rights. That is one aspect of personality rights. There is a second aspect as well. For example, Mr. Alok Nath, a Bollywood actor, he has created an image in the minds of his viewers. And the image is of that of a sanskari man, sanskari individual. That is why in movies such as Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, such as Viva, he appears as if he's a sanskari individual. But what if I depict the image of Alok Nath using AI tools, morph his image, and now he's wearing the clothes of Ranveer Singh, flashy, flamboyant? That would violate his personality. Why? Because one, it is without his consent. Second, he has his right to be projected in a certain manner before the public. He has the agency, he has the control, he has the right to live a life of dignity. And if I am violating his right to dignity, I am violating his right to decide how to appear in front of the public. That would be violation of his personality. Now, you would say, for example, Rahul Gandhi or Rahul Dravid, for example, the Great Wall of India, the Indian cricket. He has an image, and the image is of a sensible, calm individual. That's why he was known as a wall. But then he participated in an ad campaign for cred where he was shouting, screaming, Karnataka ka gunda hu main. Is that not violation of his personality rights? Because the persona that he wants to depict, now he's changing that persona, but that is because of his consent. He consented to that persona change. That is not the violation of his rights because consent is important. This right to publicity, popularly known as personality rights, definition can be important. What are personality rights? Refers to an individual's right to protect and control the unauthorized use of their personality attributes. For example, your name, image, voice, likeness, or any distinctive personal features for commercial gain. For example, if I name my brand Sachin Tendulkar, you may be believing that this is the product of Mr. Sachin Tendulkar or he has endorsed it. Can I do that for commercial gain? No, that would be violation of the personality rights of Sachin Tendulkar. Similarly, sometimes the signature of individuals, very common, very popular. And if I use that signature, ultimately I'm violating that personality right of an individual because that is without the consent. But these personality rights, various Supreme Court judgments or High Court judgments, particularly of the Delhi High Court, whether it is ICC Development versus RV Enterprises, Anil Kapoor, Ashwarya Rai, so many celebrities are now approaching the court. Recent Mr. Nagarjun, Amitabh Bachchan, Abhishek Bachchan, Karan Johar, Anil Kapoor, Jackie Shroff. Alia Bhatt, Rashmika, so many individuals have approached the court asking the court to protect their publicity rights, these personality rights. But why do they need to approach the court? Are they not already protected under the law? That's something that we need to understand. These personality rights, according to the courts, comprise of two dimensions: publicity rights and privacy rights. What is the publicity rights? For example, it will protect me and my name, my image from unauthorized access. For example, what if tomorrow a coaching institute projects my name on their banner, on their website? You may tend to believe that I've joined that institute, and you may take admission there thinking that you will be taught by Sarmad sir. And ultimately, they will gain commercially, but I will be the loser. And in that case, I can claim my publicity rights. Number one. Number two, privacy rights. Supreme Court said in Puttaswamy case that right to privacy is a fundamental right under Article 21 of the Constitution. This right to privacy includes autonomy, personal autonomy, psychological autonomy. So I should have the freedom to decide how should I be projected on screen? How should I be viewed by individuals? And if you're violating that autonomy of mine by creating artificial intelligence led photos or deep fake videos, you are infringing into my private space, violating my privacy. So these personality rights have two dimensions. One, publicity rights, basically commercial in nature, and privacy rights related to my autonomy, personal autonomy, bodily autonomy, psychological autonomy. Not just this. For example, Ashwarya Rai approached the court, Delhi High Court, that there are people who are using my image in an unauthorized manner. For example, on coffee mugs, her name or her photograph is imprinted. And there are people who will buy just because Ashwarya Rai's photograph is or image is on that coffee mug, which means others are exploiting, commercially exploiting your name, your face, your image, and it is causing you harm. But not just that. Ashwarya Rai has some dignity. Dignity in the sense she has made it clear throughout her career that I will not resort to intimate scenes in the movies. Although she broke it once or twice, but that is her stated policy that I will not indulge in these intimate erotic scenes in the movies. But what if there are others who use deepfake videos and create that erotic image of Ashwarya Rai? That violates her agency, that violates her privacy, that violates her autonomy to decide how people should perceive her. That is the violation. And it is not gender neutral. For example, women actors, particularly, they have been commodified. Their images have been distorted. They have been sexualized without their consent. That is why actors such as Kajal, Rashmika, Alia Bhatt, Ashwarya Rai, they've approached the court that please protect our personality rights from infringement. And there is a patriarchal sense to this as well. We say when a woman's image is already in the public domain, we as men become the owners of that image. It reflects a patriarchal logic that women's bodies are treated as public property. And if they are public property, we can strip them, indignify them, and objectify them. This is not a one off case of women actors facing violation of personality rights. There is a patriarchal angle to this as well because we treat women's bodies as public bodies, and as such, we can stifle them, we can objectify them, we can commodify them. That's why these rights become important. Because when Ashwarya Rai consents to appear in a film or an advertisement or a campaign, she has her choice, her autonomy to shape her public identity. She chooses what to put out in the public sphere. But when these third parties impersonate that identity, they erase her agency and autonomy over her public image. Because I don't know how Ashwarya Rai will be depicted on that coffee mug or how she will be displayed on a website. So you are violating the autonomy, which is an intrinsic aspect of privacy under Article 21 of the Constitution. But what is the legal backing of these personality rights? Dispersed. Dispersed in the sense, Copyright Act 1947, 1957. There is an individual who is composing this music. Can I use that music in my videos? in my IS preparation videos, I have to identify the owner. I have to give credit to the owner and I have to seek his consent. If not, the YouTube will take down that video because copyright is with that music composer. Copyright is also with the producer of a particular film. So the Copyright Act protects these personality rights of individuals if they are violated commercially without authorization, without consent. Similarly, there is Trademarks Act 1999, which permits individuals that you can trademark your name, your signature, your persona, or even catchphrases. For example, Anil Kapoor approaching Delhi High Court that my personality rights are violated because others are using my phrase, which people associate me with, Jackass. Jackie Shroff also approached the court, and Jackie Shroff's famous dialogue or his demeanor persona, Hey Bidu. So if you are impersonating Jackie Shroff, people will tend to believe that it is you, and they will commercially benefit, and you are the loser. And they will also violate your personal autonomy as to how you should be depicted on the screen. That is violation of the Trademarks Act. But listen to me carefully. There is something called passing of harm. Even if Anil Kapoor does not have trademark over Jackass or Jackie Shroff does not have trademark over Bidu, whatever. But if you can convince the court that, my lord, people associate me with these phrases, even if these trademarks are not registered in my name, but when others use these catchphrases for their commercial gain, exploiting commercially, people will tend to believe that it is misleading. People will tend to believe in this misleading campaign. People will tend to believe that we have endorsed that product. The courts in this case recognize passing of harm. Although it is not mentioned in the law, but passing of harm means even if there is a phrase or a catchphrase which people associate you with, although it is not registered as a trademark, but if others use it, it is passed off as if you are endorsing their product and we will protect your personality. But what is the legal evolution of these personality rights? It goes back to 1994 judgment of the Supreme Court in Rajgopal v. State of Tamil Nadu. What was the case about? There is an individual on death row, the convict, Otto Shankar. A magazine decided to publish the autobiography of Otto Shankar. And in that autobiography, some details of his personal life are mentioned, and his links with state officials are also mentioned. Right? Now, state officials they approach the court. Please do not allow the publishing of this autobiography. Why? Because it is defamatory in content. Not just defamatory, but when you are talking about your links with public officials, that means these public officials also have personality rights. They have the control over how they want to be seen. They have the control, autonomy over how the public should perceive them. And if you go too deep into their details, you're violating their personality rights. Supreme Court said individuals possess legitimate interest in controlling the use of their identity, grounded in this protection and constitutional right to privacy. Long story short, what are personality rights? The right to publicity, also known as personality rights, it has two dimensions. One is commercial angle. Don't use my traits, my personality for commercial gain without my authorization, without my consent. Second is, I have the right to decide and have the autonomy to decide how you should view me as a person, how I should appear in public arena. But if you are using AI or any other tool and morphing my image, creating a different image than what I want myself to be projected at, you're violating my privacy, violating my agency, violating my autonomy, violating my fundamental right. Is there any law, one law, which protects these personality rights? No, these protections are dispersed. Copyright Act talks about few angles. Trademarks Act talks about few angles. And there is something called passing of harm. And what is this passing of harm? My catchphrase, long story short, for example, is it registered as a trademark? No. But can tomorrow I approach the court and say that there are others who are using my catchphrase because people associate me with this? Even if this is not registered as a trademark, the court may say this is passing of harm we are invoking, because when someone else is using this phrase, long story short, people may tend to believe that it is you, or you have the control over this name, you have the control over this phrase, and only you can use it. The courts will protect my personality rights. And by reading this, by following this, you may also come across some of the dangers of these personality rights, how it can stifle free speech. Stifle free speech in the sense, Article 19 gives me freedom of speech and expression. That also gives me the right to offend somebody. What if I want to offend Karan Johar by showing how he walks? But I'm creating a parody. I am satiring him. I'm criticizing him. Can tomorrow Karan Johar approach the court and say, take down all these videos because these videos are critical of me and they do not project the image that I want my image to be projected as? What will happen to the free speech? Free speech is dead. It's only in the namesake. That is why the courts have repeatedly affirmed that this right to publicity rights is not absolute. We have to balance these rights against dignity, autonomy, and at the same time, freedom of speech and expression is also not absolute. You can't say that I can say anything that I wish to say, but you can't violate the dignity, autonomy of individuals. Something else. What we basically need is a comprehensive legal framework, a comprehensive law which can define these personality rights, explain them, so that we don't have to every now and then go to the courts, and the courts will then protect these rights. Because right now, what is happening, there is a piecemeal judicial precedent. One by one, you have to approach the court, and the court has to protect your personality rights. Because without court's intervention, your personality rights cannot be protected. Why? Because there is no one common law which can protect it, which can define it, which can provide a link and clear explanation as to what is the relationship between free speech and your personality right. Free speech, which includes the right to offend somebody, the parody, the satire, the stand up comedy. Then stand up comedy is gone if we are talking about only personality rights. Because then these stand up comedians, they cannot ridicule, they cannot satirize a public personality, whether it's a Bollywood star or whether it is a politician. Then it will kill the free speech. That is why, in absence of this comprehensive law, responses have remained fragmented and ad hoc. There are so many judgments of the court, for example, in Diler Mehndi case and various other cases, where sometimes court has refused to uphold personality rights. So sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, because you are leaving it to the judicial discretion. When you're leaving it to the judicial discretion, which means then the approach will be fragmented. And that's what we don't need. We need a comprehensive legal framework so that exceptions, if any, are clearly and firmly respected, identified, because we are living in times where censorship concerns are looming large, where we are told that don't publish this, don't broadcast this, don't promote this because the state is not agreeing to this. State is offended by what you're saying, by your exercise of free speech. So at a time when censorship concerns are looming large, we also don't need these piecemeal interventions by the courts. So we need a comprehensive legal framework to define, identify, clearly spell out exceptions of these personality rights. But one more interesting thing. Why do we only talk about celebrities while talking about personality rights? Do common citizens not have control over their personality? For example, there is growing menace of revenge pornography, where if there is a woman and she is rejecting the advances of a man, the man is proposing, the woman is disposing. Now, in a fit of rage, her image, which is on Instagram or on Facebook or any other social media, that image is morphed, uploaded on the pornographic websites. That is revenge pornography. Or this couple was in a relationship, but then the woman walks out of the relationship. You have some intimate photos or pictures or videos of this woman uploaded on the pornographic websites. You're violating her agency, you're violating her rights. In these cases, what you do, You go to the court, and the court asks or directs these social media companies to take down these URLs, to take down these links. But this is such a difficult process that not everybody can approach the court. This is such a difficult process that courts will take time to issue the order to take down these links. And by that time, your personality rights have been violated. So, ordinary citizens, especially women, they're increasingly targeted through deepfakes and revenge pornography. So, we need this law not only to protect the personality rights of the celebrities, but also address this disproportionate impact on women because women are more likely to be affected by the violation of their privacy. That's why this law is required. Okay, great. Let's look at another column written in today's Hindustan Times. Today's nuclear world needs Gandhi's values, written by Gandhiji's grandson Gopal Krishna Gandhi. George Orwell was born in India, in Motihari, as Eric Arthur Blair, and then went on to become one of the finest writers of English language in the world. His novels, particularly Animal Farm 1984, consistently have ranked amongst the top 10 novels in English language ever written. George Orwell unfortunately died a young age. January 1948, Mahatma Gandhi is assassinated. January 1949, an essay is written on Mahatma Gandhi by George Orwell titled Reflections on Gandhi. And January 1950, George Orwell is dead. January. But this is also a time of post World War II. After the Second World War, the world became bipolar. Britain, UK is no longer the superpower. The world has now split into two superpowers, two blocks, one led by United States, the other led by USSR. We saw Holocaust, how Jews were massacred under the Hitler's Nazi regime. We saw how Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed by United States, which put an end to the war but led to catastrophic devastation in these cities. And then United Nations was born. And the principal objective of United Nations was to somehow ensure and prevent the outbreak of a third world war. George Orwell is asking question in this essay, The Reflections on Gandhi. The question becomes, who is sane? Was Hitler sane? And is it not possible for one whole culture to be insane by the standards of another? These and kindred questions, these and similar questions, we need to address them and address them very soon, as quickly as possible. Maybe otherwise there is a war, there is violence, catastrophic destruction. And George Orwell then spoke of Mahatma Gandhi and said, at least it is thinkable that the only way out lies through non-violence, which was championed by Mahatma Gandhi, ahimsa, which was championed by Mahatma Gandhi. These quotes, these anecdotes will become important for your essay writing. The point is, Mr. Gopal Krishna Gandhi is arguing that today's nuclear world needs Gandhi's values. Because when Orwell wrote this essay in 1949, at that time, there were hardly two countries, United States and USSR, which had nuclear warheads. US was holding 299, Soviet Union was holding only 5. No other country had nuclear weapons. And then today we have 9 countries which have nuclear warheads. Russia at the top, United States, China, you have France, you have India, you have Pakistan, you have UK, you have North Korea, and then you have Israel. Although Israel has a policy of ambivalence, it neither accepts that they have nuclear weapons nor does it reject the idea of nuclear weapons. So their policy is ambivalent on this because the other countries they've declared that we have nuclear weapons. India, Pakistan, various countries, these 8 countries, they have declared that they have nuclear warheads, but Israel has not declared. Now, these countries, particularly the five permanent members of the United Nations, particularly United States, Britain, France, for a long period of time, they have been advocating non proliferation. That means, okay, we have the nuclear technology, we have the nuclear know how to make weapons, how to make hydrogen bombs. But these countries should not transfer this technology, this know how to other countries, because then nuclear weapons will proliferate in the entire world. That is why we have nuclear non proliferation treaty. That is why we have agreements such as comprehensive ban test treaty, CTBT, comprehensive test ban treaty. Although India is not a signatory to NPT or CTBT. But the point is, these countries are advocating that other countries should not possess nuclear weapons. Maybe the better solution is you destroy your nuclear warheads, disarmament, destroy these nuclear weapons because it will have catastrophic destruction for the entire human race. And recognizing the significance of this, Bertrand Russell and Albert Einstein, they published a manifesto along with nine other scientists in 1955, and they warned about the catastrophic dangers of nuclear war. And they said, we are advocating, we are beseeching you, we are requesting you, whatever doubts, whatever disputes you have, international disputes that you have, we can resolve all these disputes through peaceful settlement, through dialogue, through discussion, not through the use of nuclear weapons. Because if you use it, the world is going to end, the world is going to collapse. So, this Russell Einstein manifesto, but it was written 5 years later. Because in 1949, already George Orwell, in his essay, is advocating for non violence as a solution to the solving of the problems of the world. So, what Gopal Krishna Gandhi argues that we need in today's nuclear world, Gandhi's values of ahimsa, non-violence, disarmament. That's number one. Number two, in his essay, George Orwell writes something very important. He says, before somebody presses the button and the rockets begin to fly, before somebody presses the nuclear button, the rockets will begin to fly, the world will come to an end. So, before that, we should resolve all the international disputes through, and we should resort to non-violence, ahimsa. Gopal Krishna Gandhi says, now let's extrapolate this argument. Now there are chemical weapons. Now there are biological weapons. Now there is cyber warfare. But at the same time, there are rockets of hate. So you may not need nuclear weapon to destroy the world. You may not need to press the nuclear button and the rockets will fly. The rockets of hate are flying, blazing through the loudspeakers coming from TV news channels, which polarize people in the name of religion or caste or language. What about this rocket of hate? And for that, also, the solution, according to Gopal Krishna Gandhi, is non-violence. But perhaps on this, there was a disagreement between George Orwell and Mahatma Gandhi. George Orwell appreciated some of Gandhiji's ideas, but also lampooned some others as well, criticized others as well. For example, in this essay, Reflections on Gandhi, George Orwell questioned Gandhi's saintly image. So he's viewed as a saint. And I'm questioning it. And there are some aspects of his personality which are problematic. For example, you believe in your lifestyle, which is of that of a poor. For example, Mahatma Gandhi was criticized also. Criticized in the sense he used to drink goat's milk. Cow milk, buffalo milk was easily available, but goat's milk was not easily available. So we had to spend a lot of money to get goat milk for Mahatma Gandhi, or a goat had to travel with Mahatma Gandhi wherever he would go to ensure that people who are with Mahatma Gandhi, they are also not inconvenienced when Mahatma Gandhi travels from one place to another. So sometimes they had to book the entire wagon of the railway, the entire compartment of the railway. And this is where Naidu once said that it is becoming a costly affair to keep Gandhiji in poor conditions. So for Gandhiji to maintain this image of a saint, of a poor man who is wearing khadi and it is not even complete. To keep him in that sphere, in that persona, a lot of money is being spent. So it is becoming expensive to keep Gandhiji in poor conditions. So Orwell criticized his lifestyle, his focus on vegetarianism, and his focus on non-violence as well. So he was praising non-violence, but then he said non-violence can work in some regimes, for example, in British colonial India. The British is not as retributive as the Hitler's Nazi Germany is or Stalin's Russia is. So you can advocate non-violence in these regimes which are at least tolerating you. But you can't expect non-violence in countries such as the Nazi Germany or the Stalin's Russia. He was also problematic because Mahatma Gandhi once said, what about these Jews? These Jews who have been butchered, Holocaust, sent to gas chambers by Hitler's Nazi, the fascist party. Mahatma Gandhi advocated that all these Jews in Germany, they should have committed mass suicide. And through that mass suicide, the world would have been awoken. So that mass suicide will be like an act of non-violence by these Jews. George Orwell criticized it, that this is too naive and inhumane to suggest that Jews should have committed collective suicide to awaken the rest of the world. But then, yes, he did praise Mahatma Gandhi. When he writes, one may feel, as I do, a sort of aesthetic distaste for Gandhi. One may reject his claims of sainthood, but he has managed to leave behind a clean public image. How clean a smell he has managed to leave behind. That's what George Orwell writes. But if you read in between the lines, he's talking about and he's writing smell. He's not writing fragrance. Fragrance is appealing. Smell may not be appealing. It may be a pungent smell as well. But whatever George Orwell says, how clean a smell he has managed to leave behind. Basically, he has maintained a clean image in public life as compared to his contemporaries, as compared to other politicians of his time. And that was the credit given to Mahatma Gandhi by George Orwell, although on other aspects, he was heavily criticized by George Orwell. But be that as it may, in today's Indian Express, Professor Pratap Banu Mehta writes another brilliant piece, Ram to the Mahatma. Vijaya Dashami today, Mahatma Gandhi today. Both fall on October 2. Lord Ram and Mahatma Gandhi. Both have some lessons to. From Ram to Mahatma, that's what Pratap Banu Mehta argued. And he says both were lonely. Lonely in the sense, Mahatma Gandhi, some people would hate him, some people would praise him. But for also a large section of the society, he was becoming irrelevant in the 1940s, late 1940s, after the independence, particularly. And that's when he went on fast unto death because the government of India had to pay money to Pakistan, which we owed them. And Gandhiji insisted that no, we should give this money to Pakistan. Otherwise, I will go on fast unto death. And the government had to release those few crore rupees to Pakistan. And when there was communal disturbance in the entire country, there was one man who was lonely walking through the streets of Bengal chanting Ekla Chalo Re. We have to walk alone, and that was Mahatma Gandhi. But Mahatma Gandhi was also becoming irrelevant. But then suddenly he was made relevant by his death, according to Pratap Banu Mehta. So his irrelevance saved India's democracy, saved India's state, saved India's constitution, or saved India's entity as a political entity. Who says this? Pratap Banu Mehta. How? According to Pratap Banu Mehta, when Gandhiji was assassinated, immediately an organization which is now celebrating its 100th anniversary, the RSS, was also banned. According to Pratap Banu Mehta, this RSS had the potential of destroying the society that we live in. According to Pratap Banu Mehta, not me, so don't hold me accountable. I'm quoting him. So Pratap Banu Mehta says that when country was partitioned, there was massive violence. There was also communal clashes. And at the same time, here was this man who was walking lonely through the streets of Bengal, trying to convince the people not to fall into this trap of violence. And he was there also advocating non-violence. He went on fast unto death so that to urge the government of India to pay money back to Pakistan. But at the same time, he was becoming irrelevant. But suddenly, one political force which was capable of delegitimizing the entire nation of India was banned after the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, which is the RSS. So, according to Pratap Banu Mehta, if Gandhiji would not have been assassinated, RSS would not have been banned, and this RSS would have continued to flourish in India and would have delegitimized the idea of the nationhood, according to Pratap Banu Mehta. But then another point, Lord Ram, exiled from Ayodhya along with Sita and Lakshman. Then Sita is abducted by Ravan. Then, along with the help of Lord Hanuman, Sita is taken back. They go back to Ayodhya. But when they go back to Ayodhya, Sita has to split. So there is a victory of evil, victory of good over the evil. That's what we celebrate in Dussehra. But even there, according to Pratap Banu Mehta, Lord Ram was alone, just like Mahatma Gandhi was alone during the times of the partition. Alone in the sense, he established the Ram Rajya at Ayodhya. He established the truth in Ayodhya. But then he had to also separate and impose test on Sita. So he was alone. So maybe he would have won like a political figure, but morally he may have lost, according to Pratap Banu Mehta. The loneliness of Gandhi and Lord Ram is not merely emotional, according to Pratap Banu Mehta. He says that there are three things that we have to keep in mind. When you introspect, you don't introspect on your emotions. You introspect what is your purpose of existence, why you have been created. And according to Lord Ram, this sense of inwardness, this inward reflection, sometimes even eludes the gods. Pratap Banu Mehta writes that what we call man ki baat, matters of the heart, this is not sentimental. You have to genuinely, it's not about emotions. You have to genuinely look into why you have been created in the first place to find true meaning of your existence. Number one. Number two, the goal is not to depict an image of yourself within you that you are meant for doing something great in your life. That's the narcissist view of yourself. The purpose should be how you can contribute to the society and the larger universe. And at the same time, even if there is a path to truth, and this path of truth is not traveled by anyone else, even if it is the only path and the only path of truth, and you're the only traveler, you travel alone. That's what Gandhiji did, Ekla Chalore, in Bengal. So, what Pratap Banu Mehta argues that India needs more of the loneliness and productive melancholy of Ram and Gandhi than the simple binaries of good triumphing over evil. So, what we need, loneliness, and then deliberation on self. Who are we? Why are we created in the first place? What is our existence? How can we contribute to the universe? How can we contribute to the fellow beings? And at the same time, if we have to walk on the path of truth, justice, even if nobody is traveling that road, we must travel alone. In their loneliness, both reach the same truth. Moral order depends on the quiet endurance, not false celebration, according to Pratap Banuman. Okay, great. Let's look at another article from Hindustan Times. Nationwide celebrations announced to mark 150 years of Vande Mataram. This song, Vande Mataram, written by a Bengali, Bakim Chandra Chattopadhyay, the year was 1870. This was a song written. But for public, this song became popular when it was introduced in a novel written by Bakim Chandra known as Anand Math in 1882. So the song was written in 1870, but for public it became known to the people when this song appeared in a novel Anand the Mutt written by Bankim Chandra in 1880. What was this novel all about? The backdrop of this novel is the 1770s Bengal. And this was the time you would know there used to be Fakir Sannyasi rebellion, agrarian distress. This was the time when Bengal was hit by three famines back to back. And according to Bankim Chandra, in his novel Anandamat, he blamed the Muslim Nawab of Bengal for these circumstances, for the deaths of the people, for the destruction of the people, for these famines. So there is the song Vande Mataram, which was written in 1870. It has five stanzas, five different paragraphs. Two were written in 1870, the initial two. The later three were added later when this song appeared in this novel Ananda Math in 1882. The first two stanzas 1870. Later three stanzas in 1882. And why that is significant, I'll tell you later. But be that as it may, this song slowly and steadily became popular. And in 1896, at a session of Indian National Congress, it was sung by Rabindranath Tagore himself. But then this song became a nationalist cry. It became even more popular during the partition of Bengal, which was performed by Lord Curzon in 1905. Lord Curzon, the British said, we want to partition Bengal. Why? Because of administrative convenience. Because Bengal is such a massive province and we will not be able to administer this province better. So, for administrative convenience, so for better administration of Bengal, let's partition Bengal into East and West. But the designs were sinister. The hidden motive was sinister. The motive was to drive a wedge between Hindus and Muslims. That was their divide and rule policy. At the same time, the purpose was to displace Calcutta. Calcutta was fast becoming as the center of nationalist movement in India. To displace Calcutta from that center, because now the capital is shifted to Delhi. And during this period, it is argued that when this song Vande Mataram became very popular during the partition of Bengal protest of 1905, British tried to convince the Muslim community that this song is against your interests. How is this song against your interest? Because what is mentioned in Vande Mataram that you bow down to the mother, but you don't believe in idol worship. You believe in a single God. You are a monotheistic religion. So your religious sensibilities are being affected because you are being forced to chant this hue and cry of Vande Mataram. Don't do that. And at the same time, this Vande Mataram song was written in 1870, but then became popular when it was introduced in this novel Ananda Math. And in that novel, a Muslim Nawab of Bengal has been portrayed as a villain. So it is like against the Muslim community. So that is how the seeds of suspicion were sown into the minds of the Muslims, and they started opposing this song. In 1937, Pandit Nehru is writing to Tagore. Can you please tell me, are these verses of Vande Mataram problematic? Tagore is giving the translation as well. Because according to Pandit Nehru, although Vande Mataram appears patriotic, the ambition is to germinate the seeds of patriotism and nationalism, but it has religious leanings which are favoring the Hindu community. Is it true or is it not? Pandit Nehru is asking Tagore. What Hindu leanings are there in Vande Mataram? According to historian A.G. Nurani, he writes in his essay Vande Mataram, a historical lesson. He said, look at the context. It was in the context of the famine in Bengal, where the author is pointing blame at the Muslim Nawab of Bengal. But it was not the Muslim Nawab of Bengal who was the ruler, who was the de facto ruler. It was still run by East India Company. So it was East India Company who was responsible for the famines, not this ruler, because these rulers were puppets. But at the same time, when you display in Vande Mataram that this is the land of Bengal and then by extension the land of the entire country, it is depicted in a Hindu female goddess, Durga. So you are giving a sense that the entire nation is to be viewed in the form of a Hindu goddess Durga. How secular can such a song be, according to A.G. Nurani? That is why there have been instances where the Muslim community would feel we will not sing Vande Mataram because it affects our religious sensibilities, it affects our freedom of religion. Finally, the first two stanzas I was talking about, when the analysis was done by Tagore as well, by Pandit Nehru as well, others as well, they thought that the first two stanzas are not problematic at all because they depict the beauty of this country, the grandeur of this country. But it is the later three stanzas which got added in 1882 when this novel Ananda Math was published. It is these three stanzas which have some problems. Problems in the sense where Durga is described as holding weapons of war and it is taking a militant connotation. That is why the Indian National Congress decided that whenever we will sing Vande Mataram in our sessions, we will sing only the first two stanzas, which were written in 1872, which represents Indian motherland in its beauty, but we will not sing the last three stanzas, which take dark, militant connotations. And that is how only first two stanzas, non-controversial stanzas, would be sung during the sessions of Indian National Congress. And despite the fact that Vande Mataram was more popular than even Jan Gan Man written by Rabindranath Tagore, but it was the Jan Gan Man which was declared as the national anthem of the country, of the Union. And Vande Mataram was then declared as the national song. Why? Because you lost out because of some controversial, quote unquote, controversial stanza. But even if Vande Mataram is depicting the image of a god of this country is a divine nation, and there is no harm in singing Vande Mataram. One more argument. But look at an important case, although not related to Vande Mataram, but related to Jangan Man. In Biju Emmanuel v. State of Kerala, 1986, there were the students who belonged to Jehovah's Witness. They were made to stand for national anthem in their school and they had to sing it as well. They refused, which was considered to be an insult to the national anthem. And ultimately, these three students were expelled from the school. They approached the court, saying it violates our freedom of speech and expression. And our freedom of expression says we can remain silent as well. It violates our freedom of religion as well, freedom of conscience as well, because Article 25 gives every single individual in India the freedom of conscience and freedom to freely profess, practice, and propagate your religion. And if our conscience says that we can't talk about bowing down to somebody, it affects our religious sensibilities because we believe that there is one God, Jehovah. We believe that God's Son, Christ. We believe that we are in the final leg of this world where Jesus Christ will appear again and then the God's rule will be implemented in the entire world. That is their belief. And for that, they should not be forced to sing national anthem or national song which affects their religious conscience. Supreme Court upheld. Supreme Court said, yes, these three children, these three kids, students should not have been expelled because you have a constitutional right to freedom of expression, which means you can remain silent as well. You don't have to necessarily sing it. But if you are in silence, respecting the national flag without singing it, that's not violation. That's not the insult to national anthem. Plus, there is no law requiring you to sing this national anthem. And if you are forced to sing this, it will violate your freedom of conscience because your freedom of conscience does not allow you to praise someone else apart from your God. This is known as the national anthem case. But Vande Mataram is a popular slogan, song as well, but popular slogan which was used during the partition of Bengal. Which were the other popular slogans? Jai Hind, given by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा. Again, Netaji Subhash Chandra. Inqilab Zindabad by Maulana Hasrat Mohani. सरफरोशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में है by Bismil Azim Abadi. Do or Die, given by Mahatma Gandhi. When was this? Was it during Quit India movement? No, it was prior to Quit India because I think on 9th of August 1942, Quit India movement was supposed to be formally launched, but a day before, all the important nationalist leaders were arrested by the British, including Gandhiji. So this movement was never formally launched. But before launching it, Mahatma Gandhi, in one of his address at the Gowalia tank in Bombay, he had said that there will come a time where maybe no one is there to give you directions. At that time, listen to your man ki baat, listen to your antaratma. I will give you one slogan. Follow it and we will achieve independence. Do or die. Either do something and achieve freedom or die in its cause. Quit India itself was not the slogan given by Gandhiji but by Yusuf Mehraj, who gave another important prominent slogan, Simon go back. When Simon Commission had come to India in 1927-28, promising dominion status to India. Although dominion status was not given, finally the dominion status was given when Indian Independence Act was passed in 1947, when two dominions of India and Pakistan were established and created. And the principal objection to Simon Commission was that there was no Indian part of this commission. So no Indian was considered fit enough to decide on the issues concerning the Indians. That is why it was opposed. That's why in the Lati charge, Lala Lajpat Rai also died. So that slogan, Simon Go Back, was also given by Yusuf Mehraj. And Swaraj is my birthright and I must have it. Another popular slogan given by Lokmanya Tilak. Okay, great. If you're understanding all these topics that we are discussing today, don't forget to press the like button before we end the class. And this is the last topic. Ex-AAP MLA Naresh Balyan is booked under MCOCA. And what is MCOCA? Maharashtra Control of Organized Crimes Act. But now the question that you can ask, sir, how can a law of Maharashtra state apply to Delhi? That's the key question that we need to understand from this Indian Express article. But first up, this MCOCA primarily talks about dealing with gang activity or what we call organized crime. And what is this organized crime? Extortion, for example, money laundering. Extortion is there is a real estate builder, and there are people who threaten this builder that we will kill you if you don't give us the money. You're extorting money. If it is done by a gang, it is an organized crime. And for that organized crime tackling, we have MCOCA, which is the law passed by the Maharashtra legislature. But, sir, what is this gang? How many people are required for this gang to be called a gang? Gang of boys. How many people are necessary to be called a gang? For example, you might have watched that Netflix series, Mamla Legal Hai, where Ravi Kishan is playing the role of an advocate, Tyagi ji. And then there is an accused who is asking for bail, and his case is taken up by Ravi Kishan. Now, there are whispers in the courtroom that today Tyagi ji will get the bail, but others are saying it's very difficult case. Now, this accused is asked. The person who is complaining is asked, who were these people who committed theft? Can you identify those people? Said, yes, this person, these four people. Was that person also involved? Yes, he was also there. But you said he is not involved in the theft. Yes, he was urinating. And then what happened? He came back and slapped me even without washing his hands. Now, Tyagi Mr. Ravi Kishan is telling the court, please grant bail to all my accused. But why? Because this is not a case of theft. This is a case of dacoity. And dacoity means five or more people. So if five or more people are involved, this is not theft, but the police have applied the charges of theft. Hence, my clients have been booked under illegal provisions, illogical provisions, unnecessary provisions. Please grant bail. Over dramatizing of the legal procedures, but be that as it may, for dacoity, five or more people would constitute a gang. But in UP, there is Gangsters Act. In Maharashtra, there is MCOCA. It talks about group of persons. And what is it? Group of persons, two or more. So even if there are two individuals, that constitutes a gang. And if they resort to extortion, they can be booked under MCOCA. But how can this Maharashtra Control of Organized Crimes Act apply to Delhi, which is a different entity altogether, although not a state but a union territory? For that, you need to understand that at the time of the commencement of the constitution, our country was divided into various parts: Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D territory. These were the Part C territories. Some of them later on became union territories. For example, Delhi. In 1950, a law was passed by the parliament called Union Territories Laws Act of 1950. What is the impact of this law? This law says, can a law which is passed by any state apply to union territories? Yes. How? If the central government issues a notification under this law, and if you issue a notification under this law, then any state law can apply to a union territory. But sir, in 1950, there were no union territories. Very good. That is why in 1956, Part C was replaced with union territory. A sense that in 1950 law, this law spoke of applying a state law by the union government in a Part C state, which later on was changed in 1956 to be union territory. So that is how in 2002, the union government, through a resolution, applied this Maharashtra Act, MCOCA, to the union territory of Delhi. Which law provides the basis for this application of a state law to a union territory? Union Territories Laws Act of 1950. But the Supreme Court has said you cannot prosecute somebody in Delhi for MCOCA unless and until the crime is committed in Delhi. Crime committed somewhere else, that will not invoke MCOCA in Delhi, even if you are the resident of Delhi. So for that, a group of two persons is necessary. This crime or organized crime, whether it is money laundering or whether it is extortion, should have happened. The territorial nexus should be there in Delhi. That's what we need to discuss today. These were the topics picked up from the Indian Express, the Hindustan Times, because there was no Hindu newspaper available today. It did not hit the stands because of the holiday. I'll see you again next time. Till then, have a great time. All the best. Bye bye. Happy Dussehra once again.